So we're under the car now. This is the inside of where we've been working. Everything we put in new is out here. This is the outside of the seam we were looking at. So this is a little bit gone, but it appears just to be this bottom part. So I'm going to cut this out. We'll make a plate, weld that in, and then that will replace our outside seam, if that makes sense. As confined as it is under here, I don't think I can really show you too much cutting this out, but I'm going to cut it and make a plate and go in there. Where we are on the outside, under the car, I have cut out what was bad in here, right under the torsion bar tube, which wasn't a whole lot, fortunately. I've created this patch to go in, but I need to replicate the pinch weld, such as that. I'm going to carry that up here. So this piece will be half of it, and I'll put a double thickness on it, but I want to go ahead and make an L shape to slip up inside here and have something to attach to. So we'll go over to the bench and see if we can make that piece. Here's the piece I cut I'm going to use. I'm just going to fold this over into a 90. A brake would be really handy for this. It's alright. So this is what you'll see from the outside of the car. You won't see that. This will be the lip turning down, and then this will represent the outer panel and the pinch weld. So this needs to match this curve. So I need to put one of these portions of the L's, probably this one because it looks a little prettier. It needs to be stretched to make that curve. I put the stretcher die in here. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this a little bit. And this just grips the metal, kind of stretches it. And this is 18 gauge metal, so I think it's 18 gauge. So it curves pretty easy. Let's see how well we've matched that curve. You know what, that may actually even be too much. But yeah, that was one pass through there. And I found, originally I cut this to the shape, and then I used the shrinker on it, or the stretcher, and it got it way out of shape. So you need to make the break and then do this shrinking or stretching. So that is our piece assembled with some weld through primer on it. So it'll go in the car like this. You really won't see anything, but it's together. I tacked it, primed the rest of it, and let's get it in there. So that is the end result of that repair. I ran into some pretty thin metal up there, but it's not like anybody's ever going to see this, so it got a little uglier welding. We will mix up some fiberglass filler and fill all this stuff in, smooth it out, make it look more factory. I may or may not show you that. Okay, I've got those areas prepped. I'm going to use some short strand reinforced fiberglass filler to kind of level those areas out. This is Bondo brand. I'm pretty sure it's all the same. That's probably way more than I'm going to need. And there's hardener that goes in it, just like fiberglass filler. I did a video on that which nobody watched, so I guess you can go back and watch that. I should have kneaded this before I did this. Okay, it's still kind of runny. Still a lot runny. There we go. Yeah. Maybe way too much, but it's not super hot, so it may be all right. Just mix it in. This piece of cardboard is just another piece of your favorite beverage container. You could get fancy and use one of those mixing boards. I have like a homemade one. But for this, it is not important, and gloves, because you're going to get that crap everywhere. Alright, that should be good enough. Let's get to the car and get this on. I am used to short strand fiberglass filler being a lot shorter than this, so we're going to probably have to come back and work some of this, but I want to fill that dent area in, make it look a little more like that is all metal. Okay, so this side wasn't near as bad as the other side. Just found one thin spot there that I cut out, and there were some pinholes I had to weld up. There was a little rust under there, and also again on the inside. So I made that, and I also had the little shelf that's right there was kind of gone, so that's new. So I'll get that put in and it'll bring you back. I don't want to bore you watching all this. Alright, here's how we ended up back here. Got some filler, fiberglass, filled everything, painted it. So the casual observer, it'll look like that, it's just fine. So that's the back side. Looks good enough, and everything's painted. So now we will move on to the final corner, which is up front, but first I think I'm going to work on cleaning up some of this mess so I can actually move around. Okay, now we're up at the front left corner of the car. Everything under here doesn't look too bad. That's part of the rocker panel, and obviously we patched all this, and there's a patch up there, and that panel was new and replaced, but again with the silicone. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I guess that 25 years teaches you something. We'll get in there and see what we need to do to clean that up and make that look presentable. So after cleaning that up, it's okay. It's obviously overlap welded. It's not butt welded, but once we get down the bottom, we have this bulge, and I found a hole right there and some pinholes in the weld there, and then I got around the bottom and where this was all folded over, and that's a whole bunch of wire piled in there from the welder, and so I'm sure there's rust behind there. I think what I'll do is come in here and cut this somehow and make a whole new piece to go all the way down to pinch weld and up around here, and then we'll butt weld it and try to blend it in a little better and then do something with this mess. Once I get this out, I may come up here and cut this and then butt weld it all. We'll see if I do that now without taking that out, I don't have a way to get whatever falls in behind there out. I don't want to leave that in there. So for right now, we're going to cut this bottom part that I know is screwed up out. So we have a hole hacked in there, and that's what came out. So it's kind of just piled over what was left. Let me see if I can get you in there, but it really doesn't look horrible inside. There's actually cobwebs in there. So I'll spray some rust converter in there. And then up inside here, it's mostly there, just piled over. So I think I will go ahead and cut through. I'll cut through to butt weld, but there's another wall, which I think becomes the interior of the car. So I don't really want to go up more than about 5.5 inches. So we'll go up there and we'll make a mark. So there's our mark. We'll saw that off. Then I should be able to get everything out of the inside out of there. And we can butt that together, weld it, and then we'll come down and make this whole piece in one shot. I made this piece, welded a flange on it, and then relief cut it and shrunk it to try to get the curve right. And I'm not crazy about the relief cuts in there. It's going to be a bunch of welds, and it would work. So I think what I'm going to do is I will take this piece, cut all the relief cuts off, and use the bottom half and the start of the curve, and then use this other piece to try to fill in the gap in the bottom of the curve. That way it won't have all these welds plus this. It'll have a long one here. I think it'll turn out better. So I'm going to get this clamped up a little better, and then I will cut right along here to preserve this bottom piece, and then I may actually go ahead and weld it in and then work on the filler. I'm not sure yet. That may be the best one yet. Figures is the last one. So we will get the grinder out and we will flatten all this out and see where there's any pinholes, and then do what we need to with filler, etc., and paint it. So that's ground down, filled any gaping holes I saw. Next we will go ahead and fill that and paint it, and that one actually probably turned out the best out of all of them. And keep in mind, I have no formal training on any of this. This is what I've watched on TV shows, read in books, watched on YouTube. So as proof, you can get better with practice. So there we go. That is the first patch, which you didn't get to see because I deleted. So that's what that fender well looks like. Turned out pretty well. This is the right rear. We spent a lot of time here. That's what that looks like. Left rear. So here we are finally at the left front. That's how that turned out. I think that's the last one under here. We have some rust, but it's mostly just surface rust. I don't see any more holes. There's a little ugly patch there, but I think we can just grind that down and paint it. I did throw some paint on my brake calipers because they were all mismatched and starting to rust, so preserve them a little bit. So I hope tomorrow I can get this thing down and out of here and washed, take it for a little drive. Thanks for watching and subscribing.